All right, so here we go. I almost feel like we should start with the tallest tree, because that would help me decide, like, ultimately what height we're going to go with. So let's do that. Okay. Oh, we got trees overboard. Oh my gosh, I'm so fucking pruning this out. All right, so here we go. I almost feel like I don't even want to touch the roots, to be honest. So what I'm thinking is using like the bottom half layer, not just out of convenience, but for a reason, with you know, pine bark, and it's like, you know, compost, some peat moss, things like that. A lot of organic materials. That's always really good for developing roots. I think also with it being an island tropical tree, I think it might appreciate some water. This one seems to have been watered well and enjoyed it. And then the top, I'm going to use my bonsai mix. So I've got like pumice, perlite, akadama, a whole bunch of other stuff. Some peat moss. The peat moss is my organic material. Everything else is pretty much like some sort of a rock based on size. All right. So it's actually pretty cool having this little guy down here. Let's go ahead and just start pruning, huh? So I'm gonna go halfway down right here. And there we go. There we go. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a lot of the big cuts now. And then as I put them in the pot and I see how they lay out together, I'll make like the smaller cuts. So this is serious. This is a serious branch, and I'm just thinking that I'm going to break my rule. I'm probably going to do a cutting. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I would almost feel wasteful. So if you're doing cuttings, typically you want to remove a lot of the growth. Pick your buds, and then not water it as much as you would water like a normal plant, because it's recovering. Sometimes I do cuttings if they really respond well to water, in just water, but I guess you pretty much have to go look at my channel to see those, because I have so many species I can't think of them right now, and this is awesome. So look at this. So that big cutting that was that wide, boom. That almost looks like a great start to a pine tree. So I am so saving these. I'm going to look these up and see if it's better to let them dry out, soak them in water, give them root hormone, whatever it is. But that's pretty cool. It's a lot of nice branches on a young tree. All right, so let's go ahead right up here. I'm going to leave the first side branch like this. I'm going to consider a side branch off of every side branch. So we'll say I'm going to leave one secondary branch off of one primary branch. I'm just going to follow that standardly If they're completely across from each other, I guess they'll both survive. That's what I was thinking was going to happen with these two. We'll leave those for now. I actually can't think of any times where I've seen these have dieback. So if there's a little bit of dieback, cool. I'll leave room for that. If you don't know what dieback is, just look it up. If you don't know what some of these things are when I'm saying them, like I said earlier, part one, I am just in the middle of year 3, so essentially, as far as I'm concerned, as bonsai goes, I really don't know much at all. I'm just open to learning, and I do most of my learning through experience. I watch some videos, but quite honestly, I have a newborn and I have a 15-year-old daughter in New York City, and I just don't really care to spend a long time reading or studying anything. I learn in snippets. I'll ask Google, when it applies, but I'm not like in full retirement where I could just, read about bonsai 12 hours a day, practice all the other hours, something like that. And I'm not, trust me, I'm not putting that down. That's very admirable. If you've worked to that point and you get to do it, cool. I'm just not that at that point in my life. I'm glad I'm not, because honestly, it's not a lot of work. It's a lot of learning, a lot of trial and error, and a lot of different species, areas to do the species, seasons. I mean, it really adds up. Just when you think you know something, you know nothing. I'll say that. All right, so I did pretty much my plan, and then at the end, if there was any little branches touching, I just nipped them a little bit. Worst case, they die off. Best case, they bud back and give me a couple more. So this thing is almost reminiscent of like a redwood, obviously, because it has the reddish trunk, nice green foliage growing in every direction, very vertical style. So cool. Want to do like a high to low, just completely random, not natural planting, and then other parts of me want to do a nice stagger plant that makes you look like you're walking into a forest. So I guess we got to figure that out now, finally. All right, so I've got a lot of trees here, so let's see. What I want to do is, while I think about it, I'm going to show y'all the bonsai mix that we're going to do as a topper. It'll be more or less 2/3 of the pot and up, with the bottom part being that soil that we talked about in part one. More of a natural organic composition at the bottom, and then more bonsai at the top, since it's a transitional phase. All right, so this is my bonsai soil, and I've gotten a lot of comments on it. Not necessarily the best, but I thought about it a lot, and so I'm going to stick with it. And you see the brown in there? That's really fine peat moss. And then a ton of perlite. I'm the biggest fan of perlite. My channel might as well be called Perlite Bonsai. And then I have pumice in there, and akadama like we talked about in part 1. So we've got the nice topsoil sediment there with pine bark and things like that. More lava rock and perlite, things like that here. Now let's figure out the layout. All right, y'all, so that's going to do it for today's episode of Jarhead Bonsai, a two-parter. Very exciting. The first of many episodes, I'm sure, with the Norfolk Island Pine. Oh, man. That's so cool. I've been waiting to do this for a long time. I really, honestly did not enjoy those two clump styles separately. I didn't like the pots they were in. I didn't like any of that. And now I am extremely happy at the start of this planting. It's a very cool tree. In a very cool spot. The United States Marine Corps, Eagle Globe and Anchor right there. 2 American flags and then a World War I chest. So it's just like, I'm psyched about that spot right there. Stella's psyched. So, as you know, Laura had a baby 3 months ago, and we're just doing it here at the ranch. We got plenty of trees, plenty of new things going on. So if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. This is a two-parter. So if this is your the first one you've watched and it's the second part, please take a venture out to the first and check out where it started. I'm Jared Paul, and that's going to do it for today's episode of Jarhead Bonsai. From my family to yours, cheers.